Hey, Josh. Thanks for getting back to us. We appreciate it.
Hey, how are you?
We're doing well, man. It's Brian and Chrissy here from WGNA. You have no you have no way of
idea.
knowing why we called.
No idea.
way of knowing.
No.
No clue. Let's see. Do you know Leah?
I do.
Yeah. And who is Leah to you?
She's an ex-girlfriend and a long-time friend.
Well, she calls you. Well, I don't want to get into all this, but she says that you're the love of her life. We might not. Well, we don't have to mention that.
No, we won't mention that.
We don't have to mention that.
We're recording this for later.
Oh, by the way, is it okay if we record this? Because we want to talk to you professionally. This isn't about your personal life necessarily. Is it okay if we record the conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyways, she submitted you. Well, she said some amazing things about you. He puts his whole heart into rescuing and finding lost pets and hurt animals, wild and domestic. She says that you just go out of your way because you just love wildlife and nature so much.
Yeah. I do. I mostly rescue lost animals, lost pets. But I will go, an extra mile to help wildlife if I can.
How did you get into doing all this, Josh?
You know what? I just I think it was maybe Facebook where I just saw so many people losing animals and never finding them, or it's like a whole different community out there when I saw it. And I believe there was one specific case where a girl lost a dog in Clifton Park many, many, many years ago. It must have been 15 years ago. And she needed help really bad. She wasn't from the area, and the dog jumped out of the car window. So it was like a week or two went by, and there was no dog. And so I told her I would help her, and because I was from Clifton Park. And I went out, we searched woods and walked miles and miles and on trails down by the nature preserve, by the Mohawk River. And one day I just came across her. She ran across the trail. And, it took me a little time, but after it must have been a few hours, she finally came to me, and I was able to grab her. And then it just went on from there a little bit at a time. And then I ended up buying traps and working with animal control. And it just really blew up, actually. A little more than I expected, but...
So Josh, are you able to... So let me ask you this for our listeners. Is this something that you do as like a hobby? Have you turned this into like an actual... I don't want to use the word business, but an actual... Almost like... Are you like the Capital Region's pet detective, like Ace Ventura?
Some will call me that, I guess, but it's not a business for me. I don't make money. Sometimes they'll help me with posters and stuff, because I'll make up posters and hang them all around, and just to try to get a sighting. But no, I don't make any money on it, and so it's basically right now it's just a hobby.
You probably lose money on it, I would think.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's been like that, for many years.
But you gain the love and trust of a community, and you know how much people, love their animals.
God, I couldn't imagine if I lost my dog.
I know.
Now I know where to go. Thanks, Josh.
What is the name? What's the name of the? You said you have a Facebook group that you started?
Yeah, it's called Clifton Park Pet Search.
Okay, Clifton Park Pet Search. So you just accept people's the whereabouts potentially of lost pets and just information about lost pets, and you must have to comb through dozens of these a week, I would imagine. How do you decide or determine which ones you're able to go after and try to find?
Well, it's not easy for me. I try to stay local. Obviously, sometimes I do go a little further than I really want, but, sometimes my heart gets in the way. Maybe if it's, an older person that really doesn't have the resources to get out there and look for their pet.
Yeah.
Or if their pet is, they're just sick, blind, whatever the case is. Sometimes I will go a little further. But, there's a big sub-page on Facebook, too, on Steve Caparizzo's Pet Connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with him. But, I follow his page a lot, and there's tons of dogs that are missing. missing. And I just try to do what I can. I can't save them all, unfortunately. Right. But, you know, there's not too many people that do what I do, so I just kind of accept it. And whatever ones come to me, I just jump on, and, you know, sometimes I get overwhelmed. And
you can't jump. It's hard. You can't jump on them. I mean, right? You don't want to hurt the kitty cat, right?
Right, right.
Like, how do you?
Or the little dog.
Yeah. Like, let me ask you this, Josh. What's the most exotic animal that you've ever had to rescue? And also, what was the most exotic or crazy rescue that you had to make?
Oh boy. You know, there was a few. Like, I probably would say. I tried to save. Unfortunately, I tried to save a fawn not long ago, and you know, she got in my truck, and I drove her down to Slingerland's. Unfortunately, she didn't make it.
Oh.
But you know, I don't do too many of those. It's usually if animal control calls me for maybe help because they can't make it down to the vet right away, or you know, I've done the snapping turtles. Squirrels.
You know, it's crazy. You're like a mix between you're a mix of Ace Ventura Pet Detective, Steve Caprizzo, and Dog the Bounty Hunter. You're Dog the Dog Hunter is what you are actually.
Yeah. It's, you know, and I've had dogs that ran 16 miles from home and were gone for 5 weeks.
But how do you find? I mean, I'm fascinated. I want to get to the actual reason why we're calling in a roundabout way.
I don't know why.
But how the heck do you find? Like, how do you find a dog 16 miles away? It's not like they leave traces. It's not like, oh yeah, well, we found clothing, or we found wrappers from the food that we know.
My dog loves Kit Kats.
You know,
like what?
How do you find a dog 16 miles away?
Well. Between, you know, I use social media a lot. Like I said, it's Pet Connection has a lot of dogs that are lost, and people will you know, report sightings. And but normally what I do is I'll start hanging posters around the area where the dog is lost, and I'll expand them enough so when that dog goes and starts running, you know, somebody in that area will have a poster, and once they spot the dog, then they usually call the number on the poster.
So you just keep extending. You just keep extending that trail of information,
the knowledge that you have.
Yeah,
right.
Amazing.
That is.
So, Josh, the reason why, formally, the reason why we're calling is obviously to talk about the rescue and stuff that you do, and being such an active animal lover here in the Capital Region. Is that Leah nominated you because of all the stuff that you do to be WGNA's hometown hero for the month of June.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And we call and talk to a person every single month, and they do all kinds of things. Like
could be anything.
Volunteers, they give back, charitable, cancer stuff. Never before, Chrissy and I have been here 2.5 years, we ever called somebody who does what you do. This is great work, and it's very unique.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it really
I love
is.
That you do this.
And now I'm aware of what you do. So God forbid if I ever need your services, I know exactly where to go now.
Yeah, I mean, I have stories on my page on Facebook. Every dog, there's always a story behind it. But there's, you know, in the end, there's no better feeling than, you know, reuniting a pet with their owner.
So true.
And I always say, you know, if all else fails, maybe helping restore faith in humanity. It does. It gets a lot of people together, and I've been pretty successful, and a little too successful, and it got, like I said, it's grown over the years.
Well, how come, have you ever thought about, I don't know what you do like professionally, but why don't you work for animal control or work as a park or a forest ranger or something like that, with the DEC? Have you ever thought about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a job offer here locally. I'll be honest with you, the wildlife and all that kind of rescue, it really breaks me down. It's hard for me to do. I rescued a bunny a few years ago from a bunny hoarder case, and what happened was they let a bunch of bunnies go, and they were having trouble catching them. So I went out there and started catching them, And I ended up bringing a bunny home, and you know, there's no way I can ever rehome an animal. So I kept the bunny. It was a domestic bunny, but you know, I really like to search for lost pets that have owners.
Right.
But you know, anything else, there are other rescues and cat rescues out there that'll take in, you know, a stray cat, try to rehome it. But you know, that's very tough for me, so I try not to do it. I usually hand that part over to the, you know, animal control, or, you know, and they'll bring it to a shelter, a local shelter, or find a home for it. You know, there's a lot of cat rescues, there's a lot of dog rescues that I'm familiar with, and yeah, I mean, I talk to rescues on a regular basis.
Over the course of the years you've been doing this, how many animals do you think you've been able to rescue and return back home?
Ooh, you know what? I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
I don't know why we've never heard of you before.
I know. I love that we know it now.
I know.
This is like so fascinating.
Josh is
to
like,
me.
no, don't talk about this. He's like, I can't collect any more bunnies.
It's I've actually, believe it or not, I've been in the paper. I've been on the news. Last November, I believe it was. I was helping a family look for a dog that was deaf, and I found him in the bottom of a ravine. And I had to climb out of the ravine. It was a big thing. It was like an 80-foot ravine, and the dog had fallen about 80 feet.
Was he okay?
And it was just laying there, and it could not move. You know, he was all right. He was so old that, or actually she was so old that she just couldn't move, and she was laying there, you know, on a pile of rocks, with her head kind of slouched over into the creek trying to get water. And I don't know how long she was laying there, but, you know, when I found her, she was pretty unresponsive and a little dazed. So, you know, I've had some media coverage, you know, and I'm always telling Steve Caparizzo not to post too much on me because it is too big. But now it's like, now I just get messages. I don't work by phone, obviously, because it probably would get swamped with calls. So I really just work off Facebook and word of mouth. And, you know, I could do a few dogs a week, no problem. And that doesn't include cats. I mean, cats are a whole other story. But
well, thank you for what you do, and congratulations,
amazing. Yeah.
Josh from Clifton Park, on being WGNA's June hometown hero. Stay safe. They say pets make a home, and it sounds like you're bringing a lot of these pets back so that
is so important.
Homes in the capital region can once again be complete. We appreciate and respect greatly what you do. Thanks, Josh. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you, 107.7.
Oh,
you're awesome.
So great.
Have
Thanks,
a wonderful
Josh.
weekend and a great 4th of July. Be safe, okay?
Okay, you too.
Thanks.
Take care, Josh.
Alrighty.
All right.